What about the girl that goes to the gym? Yeah, the girl that goes to the gym that lifts. She's
She's not wearing a jersey, but she might have like the Yankees T-shirt that's like says like Jorge Posada that she got at a game one time, and now she uses it as like a gym
or
shirt.
or it could be like before the game starts. So you're at a bar, you're at a pregame, whatever, and there's a girl wearing a jersey.
Oh yeah, well that's the same as at the stadium. It's the same outfit she's gonna wear to the stadium, so it's not like a differentiated
That's what I'm
situation.
saying. So would we see ever? You would never see a girl in a jersey outside of a sports function, correct?
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
clear here.
yeah, very, very rare. Maybe like if they're like at a watch party for like the World Cup, they might have like a Team USA jersey,
Okay,
like something
okay.
like that, like
We're
like
their
the
home country.
Super Bowl Sunday,
Hmm.
something like that. We're
Hmm.
live though. You want to do this cold open?
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah. I like
that.
the
I
cold
love that
opening.
though.
But
I love that.
anyway, welcome hotheads, welcome all you dreamers, welcome all you Sixers. Row 26 podcast, obviously, with your boy and my man Hots here drinking a Hogarden. But yeah, we're live here, about to do a little recap on the NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, get into some other shit. We'll see what we have time for. But yo, Hots, how you feeling, bro? The Knicks just fucking they had one in their hands. In their hands. I mean, that's one you got to have. This is the kind of thing that can change a whole series, and I'm sure you're going to get all into that. I actually want to give you the ISO right now because I'm a Knicks fan and I'm fresh off it, so it's going to be an emotional take off rip. But I definitely want to hear what you have to say about the game. First reaction after the Knicks lose to the Pacers in Game 3.
My biggest takeaway is like Josh Hart is rapidly becoming one of my favorite players in the NBA. The way he's rebounding, like I almost don't want to talk about it because everyone's already talking about it, but you can't overstate it, literally. What he's doing is historic. I've never seen 6'4" guards, forwards, whatever you want to say, getting
Mm-hmm.
17, 18, 15 in the teens every night rebounding in the playoffs. I think he's either second or leading the NBA in rebounding in the playoffs. It's absolutely amazing the way he hustles. I mean, he got that rebound, then went coast to coast, got fouled. He did miss the first free throw, which hurt. But the way he's playing in terms of the energy he's bringing, like that's a guy you want to have on your team. In terms of how the Knicks played overall, they shot the ball extremely well. They played good offense. DiVincenzo was unconscious. Alec Burks came off and had some great contributions, but it's tough to sweep a team. You know, there's going to be tough games. Halliburton played well. And it did seem like we're going to get into it a little later, but Rick Carlisle's complaining might have helped a little bit. It seemed like they were getting the close calls. So let me let you go off for a little bit.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So just immediate reaction, just to follow up on the Knicks, and then we'll get into our a little bit of tunes here, so we can relax and let everyone take a smoke, little drink here. But absolutely, man. I feel like the difference in the game was, at the end of the day, is home cooking for the refs a little bit, as well as a little combination of the Knicks being hurt, as a combination of just pulling shit out of their ass. Alec Burks came in and gave them a lift that no one was expecting, and probably without that and DiVincenzo going beyond comprehension that anybody's seen in months. They probably would be out of the game, but they probably would have lost by 20. They were trending a blowout at one point in the game, so I think they were down by 12. It was teetering. So I think maybe Brunson or DiVincenzo came down to hit a three to make it go to back to 9, which kept the game alive. So tough loss, but I'm sure the Knicks will be back there on Sunday. I'm not scared. It's only 2-1. That was that was their best shot. So we'll be back on Sunday with the Knicks. Not afraid. Come on now. Listen, who's next? Oh, yeah. Yo, John, let's get into some NHL playoffs, dude. You see what I got on, kid? You see what I got on, kid?
Let's go. Let's go.
Rangers, that's where we have to start right now. I know the Knicks just play, but, bro, this team is gelling. Get on it, bro. Talk to me.
The Rangers go up 3-0. Igor has another Igor game, stands on his head. He's a fantastic goalie and continues to play incredible. I've labeled them the penalty kill boys. Now 15 for 15, stopping the penalty. Zach's texting PKB in the group chat. I'm fucking loving it. Absolutely.
be a hashtag if we were on socials like that for sure.
Absolutely loving it. This team is awesome. Panarin with a beautiful goal to win it. Up 3-0 against Carolina. I did not see that coming. To go into game 3 and rally, get the W, play as well as we did. It's huge, man. It's huge. I'll let you sound off on it as well.
Yeah, Rangers are
Anything
sick,
stand
bro.
out?
Rangers are sick. I agree. I think that everything is coming together. I think a couple of years ago they were close, but they were young. And things. I mean, they had some good pieces, like some veterans still. My boy Mika right here. That's who I'm repping, kid. But he's the one that ended up having the shorthanded assist right to Kreider. I mean, that's what we love right there from Mika in the playoffs, stepping up. Not his best regular season, but incredible playoffs so far. I mean, and so if he's playing the way that we all expected him to play all season, which is not actually how he played, even though they did win the President's Cup, which is nuts. If he's going to play like that, he can spearhead, he can lead this team. And then Panarin scoring the way he's scoring. I mean, I'm somebody that's been harsh on Panarin in the past. I'll be honest. So, I mean, Breadman's earned it. I got Casey talking shit to me. Like, I don't know what I'm talking about. And it's a good chance that's true. But the man deserves it. He deserves the acclaim. And then you said it, Igor, by the way, has to be said. This is the guy. That's how you win championships, is the goalie. Vasilevsky in Tampa. This is how you do it. Tell me about John. Like, who do you think is actually a contender with the Rangers in all of the NHL right now? Who's left? Probably Colorado. Colorado and Dallas, maybe.
Well, you mentioned it earlier. I mean, the Mika to Kreider, that line is just becoming a thing of beauty to watch. I mean, I saw those guys live this year, earlier this year in Philly, and Kreider scored, I think, in the first 5 minutes. It was incredible. Watching those guys to be there this year. They are a wagon. They're 7-0 now in the playoffs, just doing unprecedented things for this era of the Rangers. And for Shesterkin to come in after Lundqvist and immediately be like, oh, we didn't lose anything, losing one of the greatest goalies of all time, a surefire Hall of Famer.
Hell yeah.
Just an absolute lift. Getting into these other series, I was very, very excited for Colorado and the Stars. I have the Stars making the conference finals in my little pool or whatever, in my thoughts, if you will. And seeing them go up 3-0 and blow that lead and then come back and win the next game does instill confidence. And to see them not only blow a 3-0 lead, but Edmonton also blow a 3-0 lead. This Western Conference,
against the Canucks, that was nuts.
Not 3-0. I think it was 3 goals, 3-0, whatever. But to blow that,
it was 4-1.
Yeah. The Western Conference is just insane right now. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to rule out the Bruins or Vancouver either. I think that's who they're playing, right? Boston's playing Vancouver, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I think it's Boston. I think Vancouver's in the West, right? Playing Edmonton. So who?
Oh yeah, excuse me.
Boston's playing
Florida.
Florida, the Panthers. I forgot. Yeah, Florida won today, so Florida's now up 2-1 on the Bruins. Yeah, I do think Florida is going to win there. Yeah.
Yeah, Florida's scary as a Ranger fan for sure.
Yeah.
Hopefully we could get this series over with in 4 and get some good rest. It worked for us going into this series after sweeping the Capitals in 4. So I'm proud of our Rangers. I'm loving the way they're playing right now. I'm excited to be a Rangers fan. I was so happy after that overtime goal the other night. I was glowing, or last night I should say. I was glowing this morning. My friend from work was like, man, you must be happy about the Rangers. And I sure am. Any other takeaways from these NHL playoffs before we start deep diving on the NBA, one of our more specialty categories, if you will?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think the Bruins are going to lose that series. They might mess around and win one more. I think it ends in 6, though, maximum there. I do think Colorado is still the team. I like Dallas a lot. I don't know. Dallas I like a lot. I thought Dallas was good last year. They were terrible on the road, incredible at home, kind of blew up in the end. But they were right there. But Texas hockey seems to be turning a corner now. But I don't know. That series is really tough. It's going to go 7 for sure. I don't really have a pick. I would probably lean the Avalanche just experience-wise and just the types of guys that they've had. They've done it before. I'd probably lean on that. And then the Vancouver series is weird. I feel like if Vancouver and Colorado make it, that's sneaky Canucks. That could be sneaky there for sure. If it's Edmonton versus Colorado, give me Colorado all day long in that matchup, actually. And And then, yeah, so I think the Rangers, if the Rangers end up seeing Edmonton or Colorado, not trying to overlook Florida, if it ends up being Florida or Boston, but if the Rangers end up making the Stanley Cup, it will not be a walk against any of those West teams. The West is a different animal. So I feel like we have Igor, and that's the one thing that gives me the biggest hope. But I also think that if we don't keep up the scoring that we're keeping up right now as an Eastern Conference team, usually it's more goalie play, I've always felt like in the past, and the West scores more, and it's more high octane in the West. If we don't keep up this goal scoring, that will be a problem. But I love what I see so far, as well as say. They're like averaging 4 goals, and you see the stats on Igor about three or less goals. Like, that's the stuff. So if they have that formula and the 4-goal formula, I mean, give me that all day.
Yeah, Igor with the second longest playoff streak of 3 goals or fewer allowed after his teammate, Jonathan Quick, who did it with the Kings earlier in his career. Just a great story there. So basically out of the Irish guys, you have McKinnon over McDavid, apparently, because you think they got the matchup advantage there, the Avalanche over Edmonton. You know,
there's no McCarr on that Edmonton team is what I would also – there's like – I feel like there is a little separation there in the full team.
Yeah, they're going Avalanche though. I mean, I like the Avalanche, but I do still have the Stars to pull through in this series. After that, I do like the Rangers, but then again, this is hockey. You're saying it won't be a walk in the Stanley Cup Finals. It won't be a walk to close out Carolina up 3-0. This is hockey. This isn't basketball. 3-0 leads can go out the window in this sport. We've seen it before, and Carolina is not going to go quietly into the night. I can assure you that. We got to get this locked down, then take care of Florida or Boston. But, I mean, this team is giving me juice. I'll put it that way. Like, I look at this team, and I think, okay, they have what it takes. If we get a few bounces, if things go our way, we got a shot here. But that's my main takeaway. LGR, Igor for life.
Hell yeah. So, yeah, and let's move to the NBA a little bit here. Let's get into some nitty-gritty basketball. We just covered the Knicks a little bit. Let's move to the West, though. I want to talk about the boy, Ant Edwards, Minnesota. I mean, I don't want to mush the whole bet here because I'm about to totally switch up on our viewership right now. But this Minnesota roster is, I mean, I also think that the whole time we've been underrating them. Like, Ant Edwards didn't have a whip the whole time. You know what I mean? Like he's had guys with Connolly's not a nothing. Towns is not nothing. Gobert is not nothing. I mean, we're talking about the defensive player of the year now, 4-time. Towns is shooting over 40% from 3, and he calls himself the best shooting big. Whatever, bravado, whatever, but he's nice. That roster's so good. And now Ant Edwards is taking the step. I mean, scary, bro. Scary. They're playing right now, so I can do a sport.
Absolutely. You know, the Timberwolves, I took them last Friday night at plus 900. They're already at plus 300 coming into today. So now I can say, you know, as a future bet, that's already a great value play. Already happy with this pick. Wherever it goes from here, I already am proud. But moving forward in the actual prediction, someone's name I couldn't come across with last week when we talked about it was McDaniels. That was the guy I was looking for. The defense from him, and you briefly mentioned Alexander Walker last week as well. These guys going out there, making it hell for the Nuggets on the perimeter. Naz Reid, Towns, Gobert, who didn't even play in Game 2 when they won by 26, going at Jokic, throwing multiple big bodies at him, giving him different angles, different things to have to deal with. Defensively, Game 2 was one of the best NBA defensive games I've probably seen since the Pistons in the early 2000s run.
They were locked. It was locked. There were there's a lot of defenders on that court. When Ant Edwards takes, he takes to the assignment. I mean, he's something else on defense as well. He had a crazy block in the first quarter of tonight's game already. Just timed it, just lined this guy up on a help block. Ridiculous, right off the backboard. They're actually down 15 right now going into halftime. Like, it's about to be 2 minutes into halftime. So early good start. I'm sure Denver's pressing, probably all the systems go at this point. You're down 2-0. They know if they don't take this game's rap sheet, they're not probably coming back against the Wolves. That would be very difficult because they're such a defensive team. So, we'll see what ends up happening. But if the Denver can pull it out tonight and they end up getting it to 2-1, I do think that changes the series. And I still think Denver has a lot of experience that they can lean on to put the pressure on Ant Edwards and see if he rises up and takes to the challenge. Like if he comes out in game 4 if they lose tonight, which the trend is lost right now, we'll say, man, Edwards. I mean, you never know. If they come back tonight and they'll go 3-0, we already know. Then we don't have to talk about it at that point. That would be back-breaking. So, I mean, we'll see what ends up happening with this series. And then the other Western Conference series, Dallas and I'm sorry, who's Dallas playing
Oklahoma
again?
City.
And Oklahoma City, excuse me. So Oklahoma City took care of game 1. Dallas took care of game 2. Kyrie played like shit in game 2. They won. Kyrie plays amazing in game 1. They lose. I mean, I don't understand that. But what I do want to know from you is, tell me a little bit about why there's a ghost behind you, and then I also want to hear about what your thoughts are on this series. Who do you think is going to get the edge between the Mavericks and OKC, and who do you think is going to pull that series out at the end? It's 1-1 right now.
Yeah. I mean, the main takeaway that I have is watching OKC play. I really thought that they had a chance to maybe sweep or win, relatively easily. But the Mavericks are there to score. They're there to put up points. Luka's going to get his. Kyrie's going to get his. And the rest of the guys are showing they can play as well. I think my biggest takeaway is that SGA might be the guy that I have to lock in on for the future. I'm thinking now, all right, I got the Timberwolves covered. OKC, I feel like I might have to get a little invested there too, but I can't take the future on the team. It's not the right price. SGA plus 850 to win Finals MVP. Whew. I'm
not a hater of SGA. Okay, I'm not a hater. I think he's incredible. But his play, the way he plays, is like he's like a 29 to 33 point a game guy. He doesn't usually go up above that ever. He had 19 in the first half of the other game. He had 10 in the second half, and he had 20. So he had 29 total. The next game he had similar, 18 in the first half, and he ends with like 33. He doesn't really have those colossal games. So I do think guys like Chet, or if Jalen Williams ends up just coming out in the finals and balling, it could be an Iguodala situation. Like that's like a nice sneak pick, actually, ironically, instead of the SGA pick. I think another guy on that OKC team would be sneaky because of how that team operates and how good they are. They're just so good that I feel like SGA doesn't even get his attempts the way he would as Brunson does, as we talked about on the Knicks.
I'd rather not throw $50 down the toilet.
Put it on Chet. Chet, I feel like you get better odds, and he gets similar attempts.
I don't know. I think that SGA at plus 850 is a lot more realistic.
Yeah. Also, he got hosed on the MVP, so maybe that's the voters would be like, all right.
A sneaky one, I guess you were saying Iguodala, that I did think about was Derek White. He's a sneaky.
That's an Iguodala-ish pick. Great comp. I love that.
Plus 2,000 I saw earlier today.
The Boston team, though, I mean, they'll make the finals, so I guess he'll have an odds chance. I mean, if he sees the Knicks, that's not a walk. The Pacers, that's done.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. We can start talking about the series more, but that was just kind of, I was thinking about I was like, man, I'm already thinking that they could lose. I'm like, even if they get past the Nuggets, they still got to get past the Thunder. Like,
well, you just gestured at it though in terms of the Cavs and Boston. We were just talking about it. So, what are your thoughts on Cavs winning Game 2 and all that shit? We can get into this and.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be similar to the Heat. They lose Game 2 big. They win the next 3, maybe 3 out of the next 4 at worst. I would be shocked if this gets to a Game 7. I think the Celtics are just a superior team, and that. This Eastern Conference playoffs isn't very strong, to say the least. Even the Celtics, I feel like they're a great record. I just think the Eastern Conference is weak this year in general. Mm-hmm. So their record's inflated. The teams that are in the playoffs are getting playoff series wins that maybe in other years wouldn't. And that includes the Pacers, who I think are in that same category with the Cavaliers. And this series,
Cavs and the Pacers are similar teams, I would say, in a sense. I agree.
Usually maybe wouldn't make it out of the first round in the playoffs, but this year it seemed a little bit easier, or even that the both of those teams might have lost to the Knicks in the first round, if you will, and the Sixers were probably better matchup for the Knicks in terms of like who could beat the Knicks, even though they were a lower seed because of injuries. It's just a weird playoff bracket year in the
Yeah.
East. So I think that the Celtics will handle this series with relative ease. No, not going to 7 games. I'd be very surprised.
This shit goes to 7 games and this is a sweat. I mean, this is like embarrassing. Like at this point, like with the Eastern Conference, as you gestured at in the first, that's the first thing. And the second thing is I don't even understand how the Knicks are giving the Pacers such a run for their money, considering the regular season that the Pacers exuded. Like this shouldn't be a competition, considering all the injuries on the Knicks. Like the Knicks have Precious Achua and Burks getting legit minutes in a playoff game, and Deuce McBride, and Sims. These guys all played just today, and this Knicks team is competing. And I get it's basketball. People will say it's one game. It's basketball. And I do understand that. And game to game, Thibodeau is an exceptional coach. So he's somebody that can put you in a position to win any basketball game. That's undeniable at this point, no matter who's on the court, which is a great trait. But still, man, how the fuck is this team even relevant? With this Indiana roster. This Indiana roster is so athletic, bro. Are you kidding me? The dude guarding Brunson is ridiculously athletic. I'll take him on the Knicks. Bro, they have mad players that would be on the Knicks, starting on the Knicks for sure, would be in our rotation for sure, ahead of the guys that were playing for the Knicks. No question. You can go down their roster. Think about their guys. TJ McConnell would start ahead of most people. Nemhard, the other guy, Naismith.
Yeah.
Bro, it's Halliburton. They have bodies on that. Obi Toppin, he's developed into a decent player. I'm sure we could use him right now with all the fucking injuries. Like, he would be playing ahead of Precious possibly. Like, that's definitely a possibility, especially stretch 3. Like, bro, this is fucking unfathomable. East is so weak. What you just said is so, that's so gospel. Like, the East is garbage compared to the West at this point. The Minnesota would run through the East teams, I feel like. Same with Denver. Same with OKC. I mean, is there, right?
Yeah, man, I'd have to agree. One thing I'll say about the Tom Thibodeau coaching take is that seeing what Alec Burks was doing, seeing Sims play a little better, the one take that I have that I've been kind of marinating on is maybe he should have been playing with a deeper lineup, and you don't have Brunson hobbling. You don't have OG out of the game. You don't have Mitchell Robinson out of the game. Maybe you use this deeper rotation. You let these guys play, gain experience, and also you don't put so much wear and tear on your key guys to where it seems like they're starting to drop like flies. And I wish I could say this wasn't exclusively a playoff take, but this is also just throughout the regular season. Mm-hmm. I think my biggest knock on Tom Thibodeau as a coach is not knowing how to use his full roster, or not full roster, but a deeper roster,
for sure,
and putting too much on his starting players to the point where he's putting them at a greater risk of injury or just wear and tear, where maybe they don't even miss the game, but they're, not 100% or anywhere near 100% out
for sure.
there. And it might come back to bite them when they're playing against a deeper team like the Celtics, who can run 9 guys at you. We've seen Porzingis go down, and Al Horford couldn't necessarily play all the minutes Porzingis was playing and his own minutes, but for at least a short time can still spread the floor as a big, play some defense, and they don't lose that much. Whereas the Knicks, it's like, yes, they played a close game tonight with OG out, but it's almost like if OG is in, this series is a Reynolds wrap. There's no chance that the Pacers win.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree if OG was healthy and Brunson was healthy, this series is not close. But I do think that what you're saying has a lot of merit in terms of the regular season giving guys run. I think a big problem with Thibodeau is if he doesn't trust you to run his defense, then he's not going to put you out there. And Sims has had issues on the defensive end. Burks has had issues on the defensive end. One thing you're 100% on, which you kind of didn't say exactly, but I'll just finish the point, is that when Bogdanovich got hurt, because you talk about losing guys and talk about not having guys, when Bogdanovich got hurt, Burks should have been getting those minutes. That's the same liability on defense to me. Those kind of guys. There's not much difference between those two guys, and they're both streaky guys. So if that's the role that guy was playing, that feels like a plug-in play there, like with Burks. And we saw an example when he got minutes tonight. I mean, that he threw that right in Thibodeau's face. I mean, good for Burks, bro. He just showed you. He was like, yo, I've been waiting, bro. Like, I'm ready to go off. And he kept us alive in that first half, to be honest. So
Not
I agree, bro.
and not only hitting shots, committing the hard fouls and playing with some toughness and energy out there.
That's right. That's right.
So, he was out there playing hard, giving it his all. And I think that Tibbs is too reluctant to use guys sometimes, and maybe that's could be a fatal flaw of his and a fatal flaw for the Knicks. I'm trying to think if there's anything I want to touch on before we keep going in the show.
Nah.
Basically, the only thing I'll say is that these playoffs have been kind of blowouts every night, almost with the exception of the Knicks series so far. There's been a couple closer games, maybe in the Lakers-Nuggets series come to mind. But for the most part, most of these games are double-digit games besides Knicks games, which seem to be a nail-biter every night.
Yeah, and another thing I want to ask you is, obviously I've been hearing a lot of rumblings about Budenholzer getting hired over in Phoenix. Do you feel like, just a quick hot take, do you feel like that could fix their mistakes, or do you feel like they're going to move on still from somebody on that roster like Durant probably?
I mean, I believe wholeheartedly that Frank Vogel is nothing but a scapegoat. That he wasn't the problem with that team. The problem is their roster construction. We've talked about it on earlier episodes. They don't have a point guard. They don't have a true big, really, either. They just have three ball-dominant wing players that really shouldn't be coexisting.
You're trying to play like you're playing in New York City at Melo's gym or something.
Yeah, like you got a 2K team and you just want the highest overall rating on your teams as you could accumulate, as opposed to building a structured roster that could run a structured offense systematically within a professional basketball organization. Like, it's that simple to me. I don't think Budenholzer is going to go over there and magically turn Devin Booker into a point guard. So it is what it is. I don't think he's a bad coach, but it's more of an indictment on, okay, the solution here is fire Frank Vogel than it is an indictment on the hiring of Mike Budenholzer, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and he got fired only because two things. One, obviously everyone knows it wasn't his job. It was Ty Lue's job. Ty Lue skirted on them for the Clippers. And the second thing is Vogel got fired from the Lakers. So it was like a pass off almost in that sense. Like, I just think that like the only reason Phoenix even triggered on him is because he was just quickly available right after he got fired from the Lakers. He was like a tangible, like, seen person, and they really didn't know where to go when they got skirted by Ty Lue. Like, I feel like they didn't even want him. And then he got swept in the first round, and it was like, all right, bro, thanks for the excuse. See you.
Yeah. Thanks for taking the blows. But yeah, I think it's a roster construction problem, and that the new owner needs a new GM and needs it's the top.
Durant. Where's Durant going? I saw something awesome that Durant should go to OKC.
I mean, I don't think that's awesome, but I don't know. They're so young. They're like they're so young.
Durant's such a fucking championship merchant. Yeah, here's the phrase for you.
Yeah, it'll be like, I'm coming home, like the Knicks randomly did for Carmelo Anthony. I think he was born in the Bronx and then moved when he was 8 seconds old, and they were like, I'm coming home. That's gonna be fucking Kevin Durant and Chet Holmgren looking at the
We're gonna call them the String Beans. That's their nickname, the String Beans. That's their fucking nickname.
Looking over the Oklahoma City skyline with all of their 4 buildings. All right, moving on. I'm done with this.
All right, let's get into some Hots Corner, Kayla. Let me throw it on. Let's go.
I'm excited.
I'm doing the questions tonight for the record, so Hots is in the Hots Corner. Fucking get it.
This is my favorite segment, and not because it's named after me.
I didn't come up with the name. God came up. It was birthed. Just like Mary, it just happened.
I'm coming home.
Listen, I leaned into it. I went to Syracuse, state school thing. No, come on, private theater, New York City, yo, I'm a guy, yo. Hello.
That was funny.
All right, are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
All right, let me lower this a little bit. All right. Which would you prefer? A store where every item is free, or a restaurant where every dish is calorie free?
A store where every item is free.
Rajon Rondo or Steve Nash?
Nash.
Save 100 strangers or one loved one?
One loved one.
Would you rather be the star of a bad team or an average player on an elite team?
Average player on an elite team.
What's the most expensive sport according to you?
Hockey.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how
Like to
important
play?
is the head coach manager in the 4 major sports?
One more time.
Okay. On a scale from 1 to 10, how important is the head coach or manager in the 4 major sports? NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL. Scale of 1 to 10 for each sport. How important is the manager?
NFL is an 8. NBA is a 4. MLB is a 5. Hockey is a 9.
Ray Lewis or Bobby Wagner?
Ray Lewis.
Who's the best player to never win a championship in any sport?
Dan Marino.
As a player, would you be more a loud pump-up music guy or a locked-in silence kind of guy?
Pumped up music in headphones.
All-time better pitcher, Clayton Kershaw or Randy Johnson?
Randy Johnson.
All right, let's get
Let's
into it.
Let's go over it. There's some good ones in there.
Hell yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah. All right, so the first one was a store where every item is free or a restaurant where every dish is calorie free. So you went with a store where every item's free, correct?
Yeah, I mean, if I just get a free shit, I was like, is this forever? Do I have a time
I
limit?
mean,
Like, what is,
being able to eat food and not get fat at all, like nothing happens. Imagine that.
but how do you like put on any muscle or anything if there's no calories?
And you have to go eat somewhere else. This place is
But
the eat.
you could just like pleasure eat whenever you want.
Yeah,
I
it's
get
just
what
like
you're saying.
stop hunger eat.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd rather probably just like, fucking free stuff. I don't know. It's weird. It's like I guess you could just go and eat like a bunch of ice cream and not have to worry about it, guilt free. I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting question. I also, like I said, I don't know if there's like a time limit. It's like an hour. I could just grab a bunch of free shit. But then again, it's like, do I just get free shit for the rest of my life if I go to a store and then I could just sell it and then I just have money? I could just buy food.
Yeah, it's like it's one store where every item in the store is free.
And what's in it? It was like
I don't
televisions,
know.
and I could just resell them or whatever.
I don't know. Maybe it's a
Laptops.
store. I don't know. Maybe it's champs.
Very broad question is all I'm saying.
All right, that's fair. Moving on. Rajon Rondo or Steve Nash? You went with Nash. This is
Yeah,
close.
I mean, it's closer than I thought it would be when I was thinking about it. Like afterwards, obviously,
Yeah,
Nash is like
that's
the
why
energy.
I was thinking about Rajon Rondo versus somebody, and it was tough.
I probably would have went with like an Andre Miller or like
Not good enough.
a Baron Davis,
I thought of B Diddy for sure. He's the man.
Gilbert Arenas. I think Nash is a little bit better. He's an elite passer and doesn't turn the ball over as much. Can hit the 3-point jump shot. Just kind of does a little bit more than Rondo does. Maybe not, obviously not the defender, but I don't know. When it comes down to like Rondo, you could like literally sag off of him and leave him open and not guard him at times. And
Yeah,
gets
he
free
developed that
throws.
over the years. He had that game winner on the Lakers when they went to the and when he won the ring with LeBron in the bubble.
Few and
He
far between.
obviously not the shooter that Nash is. Total different players, which was cool about the comparison too. I think Rondo is superior passer and mental side of the game, like knowing the game. But Nash is just at like a shooter wise, like he's the original Steph in a lot of ways. Pull up and the way he played, it was nuts. So yeah, I like your answer. I think I would lean Nash too, but it's super close in my opinion for sure.
I think you're the only person who would say Steve Nash is the original Steph.
Yeah, like the pull up, like or Gilbert Arenas maybe is a little bit more. I don't know. I think the 50, 40, 90, like the shooting percentages and just like the way he played and like, I don't know, percentages wise and like being like the shooter, the dead marksman off the dribble. I feel like we didn't see that a lot. Like he was definitely one of the originals doing that. Also, like Steph Marbury did that. Off dribble three is definitely like a You know,
Yeah, I mean, he might do like
early 2000s, late 2000s in that area when point guards started to do it more.
yeah, maybe like a pull up on a fast break. I don't remember Steve Nash being like a step back 3-point shooter, like off the dribble.
No, not really step back. I wouldn't say that. And underneath, though, he would do like that spin in his hair, and he would do the fadeaway. Like he had the fadeaway joint for sure, like the Brunson type thing.
Yeah, like under the basket for sure.
Yeah,
like a little up and under. Like
yeah, he was crafty near the hoop for sure.
Yeah,
he was great. He was a great player. Great player.
2-time MVP. Shout out to Steve Nash, Canadian. Went to Santa Clara.
Oh yeah. All right. So the next one was save 100 strangers or one loved one. Oh.
That's not even close. I'd save my dog over 100 strangers.
That's the only reason I asked the question. I just wanted to hear you say it just like that. That was perfect. We don't have to say anything. Would you rather be the star of a bad team or an average player on an elite team?
Yeah, I'd rather be an average player on an elite team. A star on a bad team just sounds like you're gonna not be appreciated. Everyone's always just gonna blame you. Like, and I guess you make a lot more money. That's why I didn't really take that into account. But in terms of just the competitor wise, I'd rather be winning and average than losing. Losing is terrible. I'm not okay with I'm not a person who could just be a losing guy like on a team. That'd be terrible. That sounds like a miserable existence.
Yeah. I think you have a lot of moxie if you think that you being the star would be enough to think that would create winning like a championship. When I say the question is elite team at the end, it's like, no, you're not going to be better than that team and in your average body versus the idea of you being a star and trying to supersede that because you're a star and like you're on your own team. Like, no, you're going to lose. And I agree. Average player is much more of an enjoyable experience because you're part of something at the end of the day is kind of what I think too. So I agree.
And you don't have to deal with you can walk around in your hometown probably go get groceries and shit like that. Like you're still going to be rich as fuck, you know, at the end of the day. And I'd rather be rich and not famous than rich and famous. Like, don't get me wrong, a little
be rich, yeah, but still be rich. Yeah.
Yeah. But just to be like, oh, like I don't want to be like sworn. Like imagine being like Jordan Poole, like in the Washington. Like sounds terrible.
That sounds horrible. I think it's exactly why Kuzma's like on suicide watch at this point.
And he's not a star, but just to say, like
even still, him going to Washington, he got relegated out there too.
Remember Jordan Poole in the finals against the Celtics, like knocking them.
Bro, he was. They don't win that ring without him.
Yeah, it's so crazy his fall from grace. But let's get to the next one. Maybe
he'll be back one day. He could be back on top one day. Some team picks him up. He gets a little spark. Who knows? Long career. What's the most expensive sport according to you? And you said hockey.
I think because I was like, what are we talking about? Like to play? Like if I want to buy a team, it's not hot. But I'm saying like if you're growing up and you got to get like all the pads, the jerseys, the skates, the stick. It's expensive. And basketball costs nothing besides sneakers. Football,
golf costs a lot.
Yeah, golf would be up there too. Did you say out of the 4 major sports, or was that a different question?
I just said what's the most expensive sport according to you. I also didn't classify whether like in terms of expensive sport, like I know what you're saying. Yeah, it's vague.
Yeah, it's like polo. Do you need to like pay for a horse?
Right. I was just gonna say, or like horse racing.
Yeah. Like what about like F1? Do you need to like buy a car? Like there's I don't know.
That's a very expensive sport. That actually is a good answer. That's a good
F1 might be the most because I remember hearing like Checo Perez talk about how he needed to get like sponsored to like move out of Mexico to Europe to like compete. Like that's probably like $100,000 like in his teenage years just to like have a chance to make Formula One.
I can't imagine how much it costs to put a car together and each bolt and nut and all that shit and like all this shit that goes into the car. Fucking crazy, man.
And just to say, I'm pretty sure Formula One isn't even the name of the sport because there's like Formula 2, I don't even know what that kind of racing is actually called. Like there's
IndyCar. It's not IndyCar.
No, I don't think
it's something different. It's called like
It's like track racing short.
I don't know. I always call it F1. I don't know.
Yeah. But it's like UFC and MMA. Like people are like, oh, UFC, like, but the actual sport is MMA. Like F1 is more famous than
mixed martial arts,
fucking track racing or whatever it's called. But whatever, we'll get to the next one.
The next one was my favorite one. When I was thinking about questions, this one was my favorite. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is the head coach or manager in the four major sports: NFL, MLB, NBA, and NHL? So for the NFL, you said an 8, I
Yeah.
believe. So that makes sense. Obviously, I agree. It's all scheme. I mean, I would even put it at a 10, honestly. Um, MLB, you said 4.
Yeah, I mean, mostly analytics now. It's like the manager is basically just told what to do. It's not like they're making situational pitching change decisions really even anymore.
Well, not Aaron Boone.
Yeah, well, not really anyone, I'm telling you. The only thing that they really do is like motivate the players to, keep active, to stay with their head on straight. They're basically just
A figurehead?
babysitters, like glorified.
It's like a figurehead position now, you're saying?
It's not a strategy position, really. Yeah, it's a figurehead position, and similar to the NFL, but the NFL obviously has final say on still some big decisions in terms of what exactly is going to be run by the coordinators, and then also in terms of fourth downs, whether to go for it.
What's actually being called, and then actually all that timeouts, challenges, scheme, like watching situational football. Bro.
Yeah. But the reason you said it should be like a 10, I can't give any sport a 10 because at the end of the day, you could be the best coach in the world and you don't have the players, you're not going to win.
True. So I guess 9 would be appropriate for my vantage point then. And that would be the maximum then, because you have to have grace for the players actually doing it. Fair enough.
And that's why, NHL, I went 9 because I feel like they're making the most like in the moment line change decisions of any sport.
It's happening. The time's clicking. Like it's like,
they're like on it. They know penalty. Like, and I'm sure that's planned to a point too by the numbers. Like, at this minute we start. But that those guys are also. These guys are hot. They're not. They had a break on that.
You gotta watch the game too and see like, Tro's feeling it right now. Gotta leave him out there. Like blah 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 blah. Whatever. Mika's feeling it right now. Gotta leave him out there. Blah blah. Like whatever it might be. Yeah.
They're making the most game impacting decisions in real time of any other manager coach. And then that brings me down to NBA, which I think was a 5 or a 4. I think it was MLB 5, NBA 4. NBA, again, that's the most player defined. I mean, we've seen it with LeBron his whole career. He basically chose who coached him or chose when someone had to leave. Well, now you could say, that's Ant Edwards. Who is the Minnesota Timberwolves head coach? Can you name it off the top of your head?
I can see his face. It sucks. And I just saw an interview with him. It's not what's his name? I just saw his name. I can see his face right now. It sucks. The comb over with the black hair. I can't remember. Randy Whitman.
I think that's.
I didn't move my head.
Right. I didn't.
If anybody's trying to check anything on me, like I'm not.
It's Chris Finch, and I did the name. Now that I hear it, I knew it, but I was like, "Wow, who is the Timberwolves head coach?" Like, I didn't even know. Chris Finch.
What a last name. Okay, Finch.
Yeah, Finchy. Well, I'll never forget it after
American Pie. My God.
But I'm just saying, that's the NBA head coaches are at a point now. They're so interchangeable. You have the best team. And not to take credit away from Chris Finch, but you can't. More than any of the other sports, there's only 5 guys on the court at the time. If you have 2 of the top 3 guys, you have such an advantage. It doesn't matter what coach is out there. We've seen terrible coaches win championships.
Look at Boston's coach. They're like, I mean, who is that guy? Who are you? And it's like, he's like donned now as one of the best coaches in basketball. What's his fucking name, huh? What's his name?
Joe Mazzulla.
Yeah, all right. I was going to get you there.
Nah, Joe Mazzulla, he played at Marquette.
Listen, the more you know. I don't know anything about Joe Mazzulla. I kind of recognize the name a little bit, but nothing.
Yeah. No, he really is only coaching because of the scandal with
the Houston coach. Yeah.
How do you pronounce his
Udoka.
name? Ume Udoka.
Ume Udoka. Yeah. Former Spur. Won the championship with the Duncan, I believe, as a bench player. That sounds right.
And he brought the Celtics to the finals.
He did.
That team was on their way up. Then, I'll be honest, I thought Mazzulla was a liability last year. I think this year he's doing a lot better job, but
team's better.
He was thrusted into the position, but I think he's better also. And as he should be better because he's now 1 year more experienced and actually knew he was going to coach the team going into this year as opposed to last year. Last year I did call him like a liability as a coach. I was straight up come clean on that, and I do think he's improved, but still not a great guy. But but we're just proving my point right now that in the end of the day,
he's driving a Y. He's driving a Tesla Y, bro. It's on auto drive right now. He's not even on the wheel. He's got Tatum in the front seat. He's got Drew. He's got Derek White. He's got Jaylen Brown in the back seat, all having a party. Chips Porzingis' lanky ass is in the trunk, bro. Al Horford strapped to the roof. It's crazy. He's driving a Y down the highway. That's how Boston's making the finals. They're Ross.
No way Porzingis is fitting in the trunk.
His bendy ass is fucking huge, dude. He can't get in a regular Y. He needs like from the back seat. His legs will get to the front so he can drive the car from the back seat. It's ridiculous.
Nah, but that just makes my point. Like, NBA coaching means the least. It's most about the players, even more so than any other sport, because so few of them are on the court at the same time.
Facts. All right, moving on. Ray Lewis or Bobby Wagner? Slight pause.
If you say Bobby Wagner,
pause.
I didn't pause at all. If you say Bobby Wagner, you're crazy. I mean, Ray Lewis is up there as one of the greatest. Okay, go make your case for Bobby Wagner. You die on that.
Stats would say Bobby Wagner.
Stats, okay.
Stats, possibly. If I was not a looking man and I was just looking at first team All-Pros and I put those two next to each other, I'm going to just go out on a limb and say Bobby might have more.
Have more first team All-Pros? I don't know. I mean, it doesn't matter. Ray Lewis is one of the best of all time.
But we agree. Both Super Bowl champions, though, right?
Ray Lewis, a two-time Super Bowl champion, including his final year.
On the way out. Yep.
And he was and when he came back from injury, that's when everyone was like, "Oh, we're going to win the Super Bowl." Because towards the end of that second Super Bowl win for the Ravens, they actually were floundering a little bit. They needed a 4th down and 18 against the Chargers. Flacco literally dumps it to Ray Rice, who just finds a way to get the 18 yards. They somehow survive that game. If they lose that game, they don't even make the playoffs. Then they get to the playoffs, and Ray Lewis comes back, and he leads the charge, and they go all the way to Super Bowl and win it. Obviously, Flacco played extremely well in that playoff run also. Jacoby Jones with some amazing performances, particularly against the Broncos. But we could get into the tackles made, this and that. Ray Lewis was a leader of men among some of the strongest, best defensive players in the history of the NFL at their positions alongside him. When you look at the Ed Reeds, the Chris McAllisters, the Sam Adams, the Haloti Ngats, the Terrell Suggs, the Peter Boulwares, the Jamie Sharpers.
Chris McAllister. We'll go all day. Simeon Rice. We'll go all day.
Simeon Rice, you're wrong. I already said Chris McAllister.
Oh, damn.
You're doing good.
Tony Siragusa. There's one.
There you go. I almost said him, but I was like, oh, who's he going to say? But no, but just literally, we just probably rattled off a bunch of All-Pros and then a few more who are going to be in the Hall of Fame with him, namely Suggs, Ed Reed, and I think probably Sam Adams should get in there too, but we'll see about him. But maybe. He took those defenses and leveled them up. And on top of that, he was just scary. He was just a scary guy. One of my favorite clips is when Chad Johnson or Ocho Cinco, runs into him when Ray Lewis isn't even looking, and he just gets flattened. And he's like, "Shit, I accidentally ran into Ray." Just like couldn't even, literally running as hard as you can. Ray Lewis.
I think I died. I think I died or something. He's like,
yeah.
I didn't know he was there. Like,
just incredible player. I love those Ravens teams. Early 2000s.
Both teams. The early 2000 team that beat the Giants in the Super Bowl, and then the 2012 team. Different teams, but different guys. Like you said, Jacoby Jones in the later years with Anquan Bolden. That team was cool as fuck. And then you talk about the early years with Jamal Lewis and whatever else was on that team.
Yeah. Ray Rice, way better football player than Guy.
Damn. Ray Rice, yeah. I don't know if we should talk about him. We might get canceled for talking about him. I haven't even ever seen him since that play. Have you seen him ever again? Has he ever shown up at anything ever?
No, that was it. I mean, I think he got a suspension. I might have played that season, but that was it. New Rochelle High School, great football player.
Rutgers, yeah. Anyway, moving on. Who's the best player to never win a championship in any sport? And you said Dan Marino. Great
That was
answer.
the first name that came to my mind. I paused a
Chalk,
little
for
bit to
sure.
try to like go for it a little bit, but I mean, I love Dan Marino. Like watching highlights of Dan Marino, watching old games. Dan Marino was this whole era now of the pass happy quarterback shotgun doesn't happen without Dan Marino and the
Yeah,
way he
he
played.
created the spread offense. Yeah, like the way he ran it, it was
It was like silk. And you talk about like a guy like
right.
Mahomes. You talk about a guy like Mahomes who were saying, oh, he does all this with this weak receiving core. That was Dan Marino's whole career. And this isn't a shot at Mark Clayton and Mark Duper, the Marx brothers, if you will. But those guys are not on the level of superstar wide receiver, Hall of Fame wide receiver that we see with guys like Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Steve Young, these great quarterbacks, Troy Aikman, obviously, Michael Irvin, like all these guys have Hall of Fame wide receivers. Even going back to Terry Bradshaw, you got Lynn Swan
Lynn
and
Swan.
Lynn Swan and oh my goodness, this is gonna kill me not remember his name, but
Stalwart.
John Stallworth, thank you.
Yeah.
And then these guys all have Hall of Fame guys. Dan Marino never played with any Hall of Fame wide receivers. Dan Marino, maybe later in his career, someone I'm missing, but not that comes to mind as a prolific wide receiver. And he was so dominant. He's throwing 5,000-yard seasons when 3,500 yards was.
This is like for all you folks out there. It's like shooting threes when threes were not a thing. Like and throwing and putting up 250 threes a year. Like this is not stuff that was like normal at all. And it's not even it wouldn't even be considered normal in today's game. He'd be slicing people in today's game. He's one of those players I always felt like was transitional to any generation. That he could have played in any generation, and Dan Marino is Dan Marino on Mount Rushmore. It's happening. It's just better teams, maybe, probably more rings. I mean, that's probably the difference.
If he played in this era, he might have thrown for 6,000 yards. Like the way they throw the ball now, the
way they protect you.
Exactly. The rules protecting the quarterback, the hands on the wide receivers from the defensive backs, obviously, is another one. That guy was special. And I think even like racking my brain now, I really can't find a better answer in my head. No. I think he was way ahead of his time. Maybe that kind of hurt him. Maybe the league wasn't ready for him kind of thing. And maybe that's why he didn't win. And maybe he needed to be a little more. The Dolphins needed to have a little better running game, a little better defense. Who knows? But, it's the famous joke even in Little Nicky's, like he's in hell because he sold his soul to the devil.
Facts. There's some guys. There's other guys. Just some names to throw out. Lundqvist, I think, is one name you could throw out. Another guy you could throw out. Barkley's another name probably you could throw out. Allen Iverson's another name you could throw out. Got different guys, so just want to acknowledge the peeps out there, for all you Sixers out there, just thinking that Hodgson's only thinking about Dan Marino. It's just a little chalk, but we all got to give respect. I mean, he is the answer. So, but just some other honorable mentions there, maybe some other guys that maybe should have or could have.
Great honorable mentions. Great honorable mentions list.
For sure. All right, let's keep it moving here. As a player, would you be more a loud pump-up music guy or a locked-in, silent, zone-in kind of guy?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a psycho, but I'm not that crazy that I want silence. That's insane. What are you going to just put in earplugs? Like, how do you even achieve silence? Like, everyone else around you has to be quiet? Like,
so I was watching another podcast and they were talking about how, what's his name, listens to Usher before games. Like, he would listen to Usher, like an NBA player listens to Usher before games. It's just hilarious. And I was thinking in my head, I was like, imagine just like listening to Usher and then just going to drop 40 on someone's head. Like, that feels like a weird combo to me. Like, that's just like, I don't know, listening to slow R&B and like, and then you just go out there and you start and you just like, I don't know.
My take is like, he's probably like, who hurt you? Like, you're listening to like, you remind me of a girl. I think
Lemon's crossing over to you remind me in his head. That's crazy.
It's like all breakup songs. He's just thinking about that one chick.
My boo, dude. He's singing My Boo in his head as he's coming up the court, like making passes or whatever. That's crazy.
He's thinking about Teresa from sophomore year.
I think of which player it was. Oh, man. Jeff Teague was talking about it. It was hilarious on his podcast. Very funny. But that's crazy to me. To listen to R&B is weird.
Yeah.
I feel like in football, like it's got to be pump up rock or hip hop.
Definitely like what motivated them to get to the NBA. Like they got dumped in high school and just was like, I listened to Usher to get over that breakup, and it motivated them to get in the gym, and now they just bringing it all the way to the NBA. I respect it, actually.
That's interesting. That's an interesting take for sure. I definitely think there could be some loaded answers to why people listen to what they listen to for sure, because music is like that. And it could be something you've been listening to forever. Maybe you listen to like Reasonable Doubt for every game since you were a kid or whatever it might be. So definitely think it could be that. But yeah, I don't know. Locked in silence is weird. Like if you're not listening to music before the game, I feel like that is fucking crazy. Let's be clear. What you said before is not. If you're just looking around, like just like that's crazy.
Yeah, no, that's pure insanity. I mean, I know that I get bored after 4 seconds of silence, so I don't know what I go to the gym. If I forget my headphones or they're not charged, I will go home and charge my headphones or I will not work out at the gym without headphones. That is insane. Just people who go to the gym and don't bring headphones, I'm like, you're an insane person. I don't know what are you doing here without headphones? They cost this, you get it for as cheap as whatever, $20. I don't even know.
Yeah.
Whatever, you could just get what are you doing here without headphones?
They're just like looking around, listening to people pick up weights and put them down. They're just like listening to the noise of like the white noise of the gym.
That is, I guess some gyms have music playing. My gym doesn't even have music playing in the background.
Some people I feel like I could get motivated just by hearing weights, hearing people on machines. That's actually their thing. Like if they get too zoned into their music, they start feeling away, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Crazy people. Crazy people can do that. That's what crazy people do.
Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. That I like I said, if I'm in the gym and I don't have headphones, I'm going home and getting them. That's it.
That makes sense. I don't even like going to the driving range without listening on headphones, to be honest, because people bring their kids there. It's fucked up. Like it's just like this kid starts smacking the ball. The ball starts rolling onto your mat, and like it gets crazy at the driving range sometimes. So I just try to zone out.
Just to be totally clear, if I'm anywhere where I'm not with people I know or people I want to talk to, I
need headphones on me. Yeah.
Unless I'm like maybe at a bar waiting for other people, I might try to strike up a conversation or a tailgate. Which the only time I'm talking with strangers, there's usually alcohol involved. If I'm talking to a stranger and
alcohol or money because of you doing work or something.
That's what I said. Or work, like that's the only time I'm talking to a stranger.
It would be alcohol or money is the reason. Other than that, headphones are on probably.
Yeah. If I'm on a train, I'm not gonna be like, hey, what do you do for a living? Like,
that person's probably gonna look at you. Also, you live in Pennsylvania, anywhere in the tri-state. I feel like if you were to turn and do that, it'd be like, shut the fuck up, dude. And like out here, if you did that in the Bay Area, like they'd probably be like, well, I'm doing okay, but I'm tired, so I'd rather not talk right now. If that's okay, thanks. But have a good day. And they would say something like that.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Something soft and passive. That's what someone would say in New York. They'd be like, crazy. Bro, don't talk to me. Yeah. But all right.
If you did it to a girl, you get arrested.
Out here, yes, that's a fact. Can't even look at somebody. Yeah. Anyway, all right. Last one. All-time better pitcher: Clayton Kershaw or Randy Johnson. You went with Randy Johnson. I mean, 4,000 strikeouts, 300 wins. The combo is nuts. Clayton Kershaw, maybe a better postseason stats, probably. I don't even know if that's...
Absolutely not.
I don't even know if that's true, actually. Like, you think about it, like, I think Kershaw had some really blown games for Dodgers in the playoffs before. That sounds familiar.
He struggled in the playoffs for a long time. He broke through a little bit, but... I'm buffering over here. Can you see me?
I can see you not right now. I can hear you.
All right, that works enough. You can just hear me. That's fine. We'll keep it going. I'll try to get this working in a second. But if that's the last question, why don't we just transition while I try to get this going again?
Yeah, do your thing. Do your thing. Pot's trying to figure out his shit. It's got to go on Amazon. There he is.
Man, good. Second week in a row with a little technical difficulty, but we'll
continue to have them because we really don't pay a lot of money for figuring it out on our own.
Man, good.
What you know about that old Eminem?
No, I was just about to say, shout out to Zach for the music.
I'm having trouble with breathing. It's even tougher when sleeping. But there's a couple of reasons that I'm suffering and grieving. For loving and leaving. You're all I'm thinking of in the evening. You got my knees buckling and weakening.
You got to put this song in the bio or whatever. This episode. This is the slap.
Yeah, this is off the first Eminem project called Infinite, as we all know. It's called Searching.
I didn't know.
The more you know. This is when Eminem's flow, I feel like, was peak, actually. This and the first album, of course.
I always just like hearing rappers when they are super young, like their voice, like when you could hear the youth in it. Like I remember Cameron.
Also just the genuine nature of the sport of rapping. They're doing it because they still have the energy. The energy is there. The energy. It's like listening to like any old Wayne or old Drake. It just hits different.
I remember Cameron on a Big L mixtape, like when he first was coming out.
Children of the Corn, baby. Shout out.
Yeah, hell yeah. Children of the Corn, exactly. 8 is Enough is the song that I'm talking about.
Fire. Classic. That's a Big L.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Cameron on the Big L with that young sound. Like he sounds so much different than now.
It's Killer Can. Hell yeah. He had that shit back then. He was probably top. Him and McGruff probably the two best rappers in that group until Big L made that turn, and then it was over.
He's like, talk about nines and text, but never shot a water gun. But that was like the old Cameron. Yeah.
Nasty. So let's get into it, bro. We have a couple of verbal flops for the week. As you guys all know, we're searching, as Eminem's talking about, and we're finding all these dummies making dumb comments. We could start where you want to start. I mean, we can start with Yamamoto, since we were just talking about Clayton Kershaw a little bit. Let's get into Yamamoto, his counterpart here. This was a horrible verbal flop, Hots. Talk to the fans about this one. ISO this one, bro. Talk to us.
Yeah, that was crazy. I mean, he took a big swing, to be fair. I'm a big MLB Network guy.
Break it down. What happened?
Not to talk shit. So he took a big swing. It was Greg Amsinger. He was calling basically the pregame of the Marlins versus the Dodgers with Yamamoto on the mound. And he said, I'm not exaggerating when I say before the first pitch that this is no-hitter watch. We're on no-hitter watch, which is an exaggeration to me if you're in the third inning. It's already crazy.
He was making a joke. We're in no-hitter watch because the game hadn't started yet, but he's saying it in pregame right before the game's about to start, is what you're saying.
Well, he's not even really joking. He's calling it like Yamamoto could throw a no-hitter tonight. The Marlins suck. He's been pitching really good.
Oh, he was actually like doubling down on it, you're saying.
His take was like if Yamamoto threw a no-hitter that night, he would be taking a fucking victory lap. Trust me. It wasn't like, oh, I was just kidding. Like, no, he was being serious because the Marlins are terrible and Yamamoto's been pitching really good. But then the very first pitch of the game, my boy on my fantasy team, Jazz Chisholm, fucking yokes one. No-hitter, no shutout. No perfect game. It's all over. First pitch. And, I mean, as an announcer, we've seen it more and more now.
I would just hang it up there. I would just go home at that point. That's it. That's my night. Don't pay me.
Your prediction wasn't right from when the game started to 2 seconds into the game. Your prediction was already wrong. It's like making a bet of like no-run first inning bet and their first pitch home run. But way worse. It's like making a bet no runs the entire game. Oh no, it's like making a bet no hits the entire game.
Yeah, no hits the entire game. It's like making that bet. Yeah, there you go.
It's so funny. It's ridiculous. But that was just very funny to me that he was dead serious. It wasn't like he was joking around. He was being dead serious, basically predicting a no-hitter or at least something close to it. And it didn't even make it, like we said, 2 seconds.
Ridiculous.
What do you want to elaborate on it any further, or does
I think you got it, bro. I agree with you. It's just ridiculous. These announcers sometimes being the jinx, the Mike Breen thing with the Steph Curry, obviously, and the record at the free throw line, whatever. And like, there's just so many times these announcers put their foot in their mouth. Like, it's just hilarious. So, not shocked at all. But that's just such a ledge to go out and stand on for no reason at all. Like, what are you doing, bro? You sound like an idiot. And now it's going to be reposted everywhere on social media. You're trying to get Were you trying to trend on the off chance that Jazz Chisholm is a leadoff kind of guy that could do something like that possibly, and you knew that, so you were playing the odds? Like,
That's a wild. I like that take. I like that.
I'm just saying, I'm just trying to figure out what ledge he was trying to stand on, because the ledge that you claim that he's standing on, which is actually thinking there would be a fucking no hitter, is insane.
Yeah, there's been like less than, I don't know, 100. Maybe not. That's less than 500 no hitters probably in the history of baseball.
Talking like 4 or 5 pitches into the game, the guy's wrong on his prediction. A loser.
The first pitch. It was the
first pitch of the game.
Yeah,
this is the worst thing ever. Then this is embarrassing, dude. The first pitch, and Jazz is not a big guy. If I'm not mistaken, he's like a burner guy.
But I like that take where you're like, oh, he thought that Jazz Chisholm was going to hit a home run the first pitch. He was going to make this prediction, and it was going to be viral for how bad it was.
If we find out he had a slip that was Jazz Chisholm first home run in that game, I don't want to hear it ever again from anybody about anything ever.
That's a wild take. That's a crazy take. But another verbal flop we had going on that I want to get into is definitely Rick Carlisle. Angling for fouls, complaining to the refs to try to get calls the next game is one thing. It worked is one thing, but saying, oh, small market teams deserve a fair chance is just ass.
I mean, it's just, first of all, it's wrong. Think about the teams that have won the NBA championship or been to the finals. I mean, you think about the Spurs, they're not the biggest market team. You think about Denver, they're not the biggest market team. You think about OKC, they're not the biggest market team. SGA gets calls. I mean, Minnesota, Ant Edwards gets calls. These are not big market teams. We're past that. First of all, with social media and how everything is, every market's a big market now in the NBA. There's no such thing really as a big market team. Yes, some of the top teams like LA and New York might revenue-wise generate more because the city is bigger and it's just a bigger fan base maybe. I would agree with that, obviously, in Miami. But at the end of the day, it's not the differences of what it used to be where the small market teams were like bottom feeding and couldn't really generate revenue. Let's be clear. Pat McAfee shows in Indiana. Like, it's not like a thing anymore to actually have to be in these places in order to do media or make a lot of money or generate a lot of money as a franchise. Like, Lucas Oil Stadium is gorgeous where Indianapolis, like the field house where the Indiana Pacers play is really nice as well. Like, it's not like these places are poor franchises. This small market angle that Rick Carlisle is playing from the 1990s is cute. Like, he doesn't realize he's in a different generation where, like, that angle is just so played and stupid. Like, we're past that. I'm sorry. Like, you missed the wave, I suppose, when you weren't a head coach for a while, bro. Like, it's all right. But just being clear.
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, Minnesota's playing really well, even though they're down, 24 now. OKC is obviously a title contender. These are the smallest of small market teams. Even talking about the arenas where the Timberwolves play was founded in 1989. The Target Center. Like, Minnesota is a smaller market than Indianapolis, as is Oklahoma City. Obviously, they have one sports team in that town. So what do we talk about? Like, we can't compete, this and that. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Trying to get something, and just
Cleveland is another team.
And just to drive this point home, that Los Angeles Lakers are out. The Los Angeles Clippers are out. The Chicago Bulls are out. The Phoenix Suns, a 4-city sports team, is out.
Miami Heat.
A 4-team city, I should say.
Miami Heat. Philadelphia 76ers. Philadelphia is a huge city. What?
Yeah. All these, 4-team markets are out. Huge markets, and we're going to be like, oh, yeah, we can't compete against the big markets. It's like, look, the Knicks didn't get the calls tonight. They did get some good favorable calls. I'm not saying that they didn't get calls in the Garden, but like we always talked about it, we've talked about it many times, is when you're at home, you're going to get calls. I don't even think if the refs tried to keep their bias out of it, they could. Just the energy in the arena of hometown fans. We've talked about it with fights. It's the same thing. If you're a Brazilian fighter in a close fight in Brazil, you're going to win. Even if it's a close 50-50 fight, you're going to win 100% of the time. Mm-hmm. It's just how it goes. You're going to get calls at home. We saw it tonight in Indiana, maybe even a little bit excessively. And maybe Rick Carlisle knew when he said this, I don't care if I'm verbal flopping, because
I'm securing the win in Game 3.
Like, we talk about a verbal flop, like, people actually flop in real life and know that it's egregious, mm-hmm. and know, but it just, if it could help me or even potentially help me, it is a good move to make, and maybe he knew that. But either way,
I mean, I respect Rick Carlisle as a champion. I got no actual hate for Rick Carlisle. I respect him as a coach. He brought that Dallas team and beat that Heat team that we all hated. So much respect to Rick Carlisle. And he was a great player. He was a champion as a player with Boston as well, Larry Bird and the boys. So, Carlisle's elder statesman, is a Hall of Famer, as a coach. So
I don't respect these comments, though.
I don't respect these comments, though.
Yeah.
I just think it's petty. That's the one thing I would say. There's an angle and a way to get the refs' attention so that you get the calls in Game 3 to set you up for success and win the game, even though it still took a Nembhard chuck and literally a goaltend on a ball that wasn't even going in. It's just it took 5 points out of nowhere for them to actually beat the Knicks, and the Knicks were shorthanded and all the things that were happening. So, he got the calls that he needed, though, and I think that Miles Turner's block also is the underrated thing we have to comment on. That was a great block, and even if it was a goaltend, it was a bang-bang play, and the Knicks didn't have a challenge because they challenged something that was stupid. So could have challenged that, maybe got a goaltend there. I don't know. It was super close, though. I don't even know if you challenge it. It's like a lot of the plays, it was a very close game. I give credit to both teams. They were hustling like a motherfucker. I thought they got a charge wrong and then a charge right, but they kind of offset each other. I thought things were like the jump ball was stupid. The ball was clearly out of bounds on them, but that shouldn't have been a jump ball. But we ended up getting the ball on the jump ball, so it's like a moot point. Like these things, it was very back and forth, but it didn't feel like the refs destroyed this game at all. Just like it didn't feel like the refs destroyed Game 2. I feel like the Knicks were the better team the whole night. Like same with Game 1. Like I feel like the refs never have determined the game. It's just that sometimes these calls can influence what ends up happening, maybe in the end. But and doesn't allow the players to kind of play it out, which is what people hate, like when Indiana got the ball taken from them on the screen or things like that. So, but we'll see what ends up happening here. But Carlisle's definitely sucking wind on this comment for sure.
Yeah, no, that was an annoying comment. And, just to get back to the refs real quick, I'd 100% agree that it wasn't necessarily the determining factor in the game. The Knicks still had opportunities to win the game that they squandered. But still, it's tough. Some of those calls were tough down the stretch there. The Brunson block, I thought he got his, they said it earlier when Nembhard took his charge. Mm-hmm. If the one foot is planted and the other foot is still sliding,
that's legal.
Then that should be a charge and not a block. And it was the exact same thing that Brunson did. And obviously Siakam goes on and knocked down those 2 free throws. That's a big turning point there.
Which were big free throws because he was struggling from the line. So he was having problems there. I mean, it's home cooking. That's the home cooking, though. Those are the 50-50 calls. That's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, there was nothing super egregious. It just seemed like they got the little bit of the better edge, which they needed tonight. It was a super close game. If the Knicks get that little edge in, officiating, they win the game. Like you said, I don't think it was a goaltend, but if they get that bang-bang call and then the challenge is inconclusive,
or they get a fucking rebound on any of these misses by Halliburton bricking that ball on that early next shot.
Sure. I mean, they got out-nicked at the end. They were the ones getting the offensive rebounds, the extra possessions. Even that Nembhard crazy shot that, was something that was a great defensive possession for the Knicks, and he just chucked up a crazy shot and it went in. That was off an extra possession. They could have secured a rebound before that shot. So
those are second chance points right there.
Yep. So moving on though.
The last verbal flop we can just quickly touch on, which is just the Celtics. One of their beat writers or their radio guys was saying that it's hollow because it's too easy to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers, and then bang, you get blown out in Game 2. Embarrassing. Obviously, you should know this by now, losing Game 2 in the Miami series, that you shouldn't be making comments after Game 1. Wait till after Game 2. You look a lot better as a reporter. Instead, you're just a typical Boston homer, and you're just putting yourself out there on the pike. There's just no reason. I mean, it's just an idiotic comment.
I mean, talking about any NBA championship being easy when you're only in the second round up 1-0 is just nuts. Yes, they're winning some blowouts. We talked about the weaker Eastern Conference playoff bracket this year, but to say it'll be easy or that if you do go on to win, that it'll be hollow, like not a real champion, like wouldn't feel good is insane. If you're a Celtics fan, you end up winning the championship, you're going to be fucking gassed up. It's a great achievement no matter what. There's no easy NBA championships. Even if their brackets are a little lighter than usual, you're still going to have to play the best team from the West at the end of it, who's going to be battle tested.
You're also throwing ammo around. You're just throwing Donovan Mitchell ammo like he's not a guy. That's a guy. Like, if everyone forgets, like, as much as he's not maybe the top guy, the top level, he's the level probably right below there. He's hovering there. So, and he's capable of going for 50 at any moment. He is a bomb waiting to go off a lot of times. So, I mean, you give him something like some kind of, something to put on the bulletin board like that. I mean, I just don't see it as these guys just don't shut the fuck up. These beat writers, they're always just making these proclamations and saying the craziest things after one game. Like, everyone knew this Knicks series was going to be a sweat, but it's like people get shocked when there's home cooking. People get shocked now when this is happening. And it's like we're like telling you what's going to happen. We've been talking this. Like, we know what's going to happen with these teams. So, but
yeah, I mean, you said it too. The bulletin board material we talked about earlier in the episode, what coaches, how much influence they could have. This is something coaches should have someone on their staff doing, just looking up media comments to try to draw motivation, literal bulletin board material, or maybe in this day and age, fucking smart board material or whatever they got going on.
Dude, Belichick used to do it so much. He'd be like, this is what they said about, this is what they're planning for the Philadelphia parade. I remember the whole thing. He read the whole parade or whatever it was, Seattle's parade. That's what it was. And he read the whole entire parade to them for the Seattle game, like what they already had planned for their parade as if it was happening. And he just read all the plans to them. And they all had to sit there in the week, like one of the weeks of preparation before the Super Bowl, just telling them all about the elaborate plans for their Super Bowl party that they hadn't won yet. And it was just like, So we keep it moving. We'll catch you, though. It's a verbal flop. We'll catch you. We're looking. We're searching.
Always.
Come on.
Need to get my second Hogardens.
Fire. Oh.
Oh, Zach's gone.
Yo.
Hey, you're back.
Sorry about that. A little technical difficulty, but we back.
Back and at him. Let's get into this victory formation, cuz.
Let's get it. So, first things first, congrats to Toronto on getting a WNBA team. Shout out. It felt like that was probably coming forever. Toronto's a great hub for sports. Obviously, you got the Raptors up there, got the Maple Leafs. So only seemed fitting. WNBA is continuing to grow. Saw Caitlin Clark at the Knicks game showing out, at Indiana Fieldhouse. So it seems like there's being a lot of crossover. Even saw the State Farm commercial where there was a crossover right there with WNBA's. Continuing to see it. WNBA is growing product, so it's great to see. Shout out to Toronto. Fire. We love that.
So you snubbed the Blue Jays on purpose? You're just like, yeah, they got the Maple Leafs.
I said there was professional sports teams in Canada, in Toronto. That's what I was.
No, I'm just messing with you. Just ducking the Blue Jays. Fuck the Blue Jays. Typical Yankee fan.
Sorry.
But getting into it, I also heard that the WNBA was also getting charter flights now, so they're going to be flying private. These ladies, team to team.
Long time coming. I feel like. I mean, that's just fucked in my opinion that they didn't have that before. Holy shit. But
Caitlin Clark effect coming through fully. We've seen it.
Where's the hate now? Let's hear it. Let's hear it, Diana Taurasi. Let's hear it. All this shit, all the money that she's generating for the league, so it gets them to do things like this. Come on, let's hear it. Let's hear the hate now.
Yeah, more expansion teams means more spots for women to have professional careers in the United States. Obviously, this is great for women's sports in general, which is a rising brand. We've talked about my love for Caitlin Clark before. I watched a ton of Iowa basketball. I mean, if you broke it down by team, I probably watched more Iowa basketball than any men's college basketball team this year.
Possibly more than NBA, I would be probably venturing to guess.
Nah, probably not. I don't know. I watched probably a lot of Sixers this year, just being in the area. I watched a lot of Nuggets, just kind of like the big teams too. But in terms of college basketball, for sure, I watched more Iowa women's than I watched any men's basketball team this year. But
they were fire. They were so fun to watch, so it makes sense.
No, it was more entertaining storylines than anything in the men's side. And then, men's college basketball, there are some superstars, but also it's a lot of chalk. It's a lot of missed jump shots in the open. I'd rather watch the NBA most nights, especially now with the NIL being what it is. There's
a couple of teams to watch now in the college sports, but they all seem to like to be on the same team, it would seem.
The marquee matchups are few and far between. I'll put it like that.
You're not going. This talent's not diversified enough. You're not going to have a lot of Steph Currys at Davidson type of people anymore. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, even this, we could go back just a couple of years. You're like John Morant at Murray State.
Yeah,
if he was there for 1 year, I think he played his sophomore year again at Murray State. There's no way he's playing 2 years at Murray State. If he plays there 1 year, he's going somewhere else. Like
Kentucky's offering him $20 million to come to their program.
100%. But yeah, getting into another victory formation, we got to shout out the Brady roast. We know it's been a little bit by now, but shout out to Tom Brady for doing a roast like that.
Shout out.
I want to just hit a few notes that I've written down. Like, everyone's talked about the Kraft thing and him talking to Jeff Ross. Everyone's talked about Nikki Glazer having kind of the best set. I want to shout out Drew Bledsoe. Drew Bledsoe going, I think, is almost as much courage as Tom Brady going, because he was virtually a punching bag. And he also did have some good jokes highlighting his closure.
He's like a trauma victim.
Pretty much. But highlighting his closer also, closer, when he said 2 things Tom Brady will never have: being drafted number 1 overall and his 28th wedding anniversary. That was an awesome closer. Also, I have a take. I'm going to hear yours on it. Y'all want to hear? I've marinated on it. I'm ready to let it out. My take is, I'm done with Will Ferrell showing up at things in character or in costume.
I thought we've been done with that. To be honest, you know what I thought the last one of that was the best one, which wasn't in his character, but just in a character at one of these roasts, was the Bill Hader. I mean, when he came in as Mr. Hollywood, and he did it at James Franco's roast, and it was like a specific character that he did. He just pretended to be Mr. Hollywood, and he destroyed everyone on stage as if he was responsible for all their careers, and it was fucking hilarious. It was Bill Hader that did it also, but Will Ferrell,
I'm so
same
fucking
shtick.
sick of him being like he's Ron Burgundy at Tom Brady's roast.
Yeah,
he was on that John Mulaney show, Everybody's in LA, as like an old music producer. I saw him on Saturday Night Live recently. I saw him on the Smartless podcast playing even though it was just Will Ferrell the guest, but you could tell he's playing a character. No. I'm fucking over it. I'm assuming maybe there's another Anchorman movie coming out or some shit. If it's promotion, then I guess I understand you're trying to make money, whatever. But it's not funny. It's not funny at all.
You know what's funny? Christy, my fiance, doesn't even like him. She thinks he's not even fucking funny. I think he's funny. I think there's movies that he's funny in, but I think his time in the sun is gone. I think he kind of has a certain type of way about him, and the way his comedy is. I think his time in the sun is done. He did the production on Succession on HBO. He works with Adam McKay a lot, it seems like, who's a legend, obviously. So I think he's more behind the scenes now, a lot more. So even when he comes out, like you said, he probably doesn't feel like he has a lot. Even when it comes out, it's probably awkward for him. Like, I'm going to do this fucking shtick again.
It's just corny. It's just fucking corny. I'm over it. It's not funny. He's a great comedic actor. I loved the original Anchorman. I loved Old School. Step Brothers, amazing.
He has legendary films, yes.
But
for sure.
this whole coming out on these live shows, like I said, Saturday Night Live, Everybody's in LA, now the roast. and coming out in character, or he'll like show up at a football game and you'll see him at the fucking draft or some shit, and he'll make a draft pick as fucking Ron Burgundy. It's so dumb. If he just was like, I'm Will Ferrell roasting Tom Brady, then it would be funnier than always having to be on or whatever. It's just, it's fucking annoying at this point.
But in general, though, the shout out to the roast, shout out to Tom Brady, shout out to all the people that actually ended up showing up. I can't even believe the actual people that decided to show up. Randy Moss, Edelman, Gronk, Bill Belichick, Robert Kraft showed up. They were. I think one of the jokes I saw was the only person that didn't show up was Roger Goodell, which is hilarious, obviously, because there's no way.
I had since you were listing Patriots, I had my own joke that I thought somebody was going to tell, just like I'm like anticipating, and I'm like, I thought someone would be like, it's great to be out here with all these amazing Patriot players and Danny Amendola. Like I thought someone was going to hit that one. I thought that would have been very funny.
Yeah, I mean, that would have to be like one of the other receivers. Maybe Edelman would say something like that about his boy, like because then they would know it was like actually a joke. Otherwise, damn, that would be fucked.
But we saw something similar when Bedard got drafted, Connor Bedard in the NHL, and he was on the TNT broadcast. He's like, it's great to be here with all these great players and Biz, like Paul Bissonnette, Paul missed the net, they call him, but I thought that was very funny. But just getting back to real quick, the one other thing I wanted to shout out, talk about Patriots players, was just the reverence that when Bill Belichick came out, you saw all the other comics go up, all the other people go up, and Nate Solder, Matt Light didn't leave their seats. Everyone, they just kind of like clapped lightly. When Belichick came out, they were like 5-year-old kids seeing their dads.
He's like, babyface crazy right now. Huge. With the whole thing with McAfee on the draft, you heard the release about the Manning cast he's going to be on now with Peyton and Eli. I mean, my man is babyface galore. He's taking his media run. He's earning his flowers. He's taking his flowers. I mean, I'm happy for him. I mean, at this point, considering the ending, it wasn't as pretty as probably he liked. The documentary fucking blew, obviously, and blew the doors off of so many different things that he probably wasn't expecting either. And obviously, in Bill fashion, he just keeps the train moving forward. He don't give a fuck about any of you. My man's got rings on rings. He's got 6 with the Patriots and then 2 with the Giants. My man is a legend, bro, and he's been here, done that, and he don't care about anybody. So now he's smiling for the first time in years. Like I think I've seen him smile in the last year more than I've ever seen him smile in the history of ever watching him ever.
Yeah, we talked briefly about like Brady being the bravest to just sign up for this, then Bledsoe, and then I would have to put Belichick third, just because he did take a lot of shots in this too about not having a job, about the shirtless him getting caught shirtless on the Ring camera doing a fucking walk of shame, all that shit. That was hilarious. But just him going there and, going up there making jokes. And obviously, like you said, like after the whole documentary, and he even made the joke, he's like, the roast of Bill Belichick was The Dynasty on Apple TV. He was very funny. And just like I said, like he has been taking a lot of shots. He didn't get a job, maybe because Robert Kraft talked to other owners. Who really knows what's going on behind the scenes? It could be a billions situation there. But to me, the reverence of his former players speaks louder than that documentary, than him not getting a job. Seeing the Willie McGinnis of the world, the Matt Lights, like I mentioned before, all the guys up there, Randy Moss. Just the way they see him when he first walked out and the respect they showed, and then after he finished basically racing to see who could give him the first hug and congratulate him, it speaks more volumes to who he is as a coach, as a man, as a leader, than all of that combined to me. Just seeing grown-ass legendary men revering this more legendary man.
They all know they would not be where they are in their lives financially, fiscally, like professionally, however you want, statistically, all of it, however you want to slice it, they wouldn't be where they are or even close if they played for somebody else. And that's just probably, I'm sure that's how they actually feel inside, that I played for the best coach and GM of all time. This guy changed my life and made me into Matt Light into a Hall of Famer, made me, Willie McGinnis, into a borderline, I'm not sure if he's in, but borderline Hall of Famer. Makes, these kinds of guys like Randy Moss, like obviously Randy's a different egg there, but you get the point that like it all puts it all over the top. And Randy broke records on that team. He took it to another level even on that team which is nuts to even say. I can't, which is considering you being a Cowboy fan, you know all too well.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, Randy Moss, he unfortunately had to follow Nikki Glazer, who was awesome, and he bombed.
Nikki,
and,
Nikki.
you know,
Nikki
I mean,
was
Ben Affleck was the worst, but Randy Moss was real bad too. And he was talking about how like he didn't win a ring, and his basically joke was like, "Tom, can I get one of your rings?" And which was just not very funny, but at least it led to a great callback, which is my last low key joke I'll shout out was when Brady was like, "Randy's asking me for a ring." Bitch, he'd be lucky if I sent him a text. I know that was my favorite Brady joke, but the whole roast I think was a huge success. I think it's also showing, with how far the comedians pushed it and stuff. Like we're also seemingly getting past the cancel culture a little bit. We're allowed to laugh at jokes again. There were obviously Aaron Hernandez jokes.
Some of those didn't play so well, obviously, to the masses, but
I thought, yeah, some of them were a little hard.
Some of them were fucking on the line for sure.
Yeah,
they were towing the line.
Yeah, and talk about the line, his wife came out and said like, "Oh, my daughter is gonna find out and stuff," and it's like your daughter will find out with one Google search. Like, I don't feel sorry for you if the actual like families of the victims of people who got murdered came out and said something. That would mean a lot more to me.
Yeah,
like that would be like, oh, maybe when Gronk gets roasted next, maybe we leave Aaron Hernandez out of it. But exactly. I mean, they were ruthless with that. Everybody was joking about it, even Brady himself. They got, obviously we talked about the Kraft moment, but even like he obviously didn't want the Kraft jokes about, the sexual stuff, Brady. But even Edelman joking about like, oh, I thought the next time I'd see all these guys would be at Kraft's funeral. Like, even that is just like a funny joke. Like
Edelman had some shots in his,
Yeah.
He's Edelman's Jewish, so he's probably got that comedic little like asshole sarcasm type of humor in his family. So I could see him being a funny guy. He has his own podcast too. I've checked out a couple times. He's got some humor to him for sure. He's definitely a corkball.
Yeah, no, he leaned into the Jewish thing. He's like he's making fun of Jeff Ross. He's like, they look at me and they're like, "You're Jewish?" He's like, they look at me and they look at you and they're like, "You're Jewish."
Great joke.
He was very funny. They all did, honestly, by and large, everyone did a great job. Gronk is hilarious.
Big success for sure.
Gronk definitely didn't write it, but yeah, just seeing a roast come back and it actually be like a goat. Like Tom Brady's one of the most famous
multiple goats
to ever get roasted. Just an awesome for him to sign up for that.
Let's start the trend. You could get somebody like Tiger Woods up there, maybe, or somebody like who knows, like
I said, even if they go take the low hanging fruit and do Gronk next,
that's not. I mean, Gronk would definitely. Yeah, I think that would get off. I think people would watch the roast.
You could have Kelsey there being like, "I'm better." There's all different types of avenues with that. Like, even if it is a slow build to get it.
And the Fox News guys, like Terry Bradshaw, those guys, because he's on that show too. There's some guys to connect in the dots to connect with Gronk for sure there.
And that's another point that I made. I'm like, Brady has the contract already to do media. Edelman works for CBS. Gronk works for Fox. And they're still ripping off these, on the line jokes, gay jokes, murder jokes, religion jokes.
Ownership of being the player, though, and being the person that you are. Their resume is what gets them those jobs, not their necessarily skill set in announcing or reporting or anything like that. Gronk can't. So, they feel impenetrable. They're just going to say probably whatever they feel then because they feel like that place is never going to fire them because of their name.
But that's good. Like that they don't.
That's a good thing. Yeah, for sure. And I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that they're not so worried. Where I feel like 2 or 3 years ago. You couldn't do this stuff without.
Because that's people's careers that were on the line if they said something wrong. Because if you're a comedian up there or you're like, whatever, that could ruin your whole brand. But if you're fucking Tom Brady, like, bro, what? 7 times I'm the best quarterback of all time. Who cares if I say a bad joke and bad taste?
My last take. We've been waxing poetic about this a little bit, but that is that Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer, not my cup of tea. Never thought they were very funny. Still don't think they're very funny. I could have fast forwarded through that, just like I could have fast forwarded through Kim Kardashian or Ben Affleck. They had like a PowerPoint present. Like, if you need to do a PowerPoint presentation while you're doing a roast, you're not funny enough to be on the roast.
Just trash, just fillers. Made the other guys funnier.
They seem like nice guys. I heard they're good to the comedy community, which is awesome. Like cool. But they're not funny. That's it.
Tom Segura is not funny at all. I've always said that. But yeah, I think we should wrap it up. Row 26ers, Hots Heads, Dreamers. It's been a pleasure. You know, we always get into all the shit. If you got anything else you want to get into, shoot me a message. Let me know. Put it on our comments.
Absolutely. We got a lot more stuff coming soon. We're gonna get into the Instagram, social media clips. We're just getting it back going, getting it back rolling.
That's it.
You guys are the
we always look for collaborators, so reach out happily. Row 26, it's been a pleasure.
Good night and good luck. Peace.
Go Rangers, baby.
Gambling your life, selling right out the store. Doubling the price when you right with the raw. The white, yeah, it's pure.